All right, so I have this wonderful, fun privilege of introducing an artist who's been showcased on Al Jazeera, Apple, UNICEF. I had the gracious pleasure of first meeting her at Howard University. She really needs no introduction. She writes, expresses, exhibits all of the beauty, the creative beauty of what it means to be a poet that speaks about triumph and trauma and triumph from the lens of Black Muslim womanhood. Want to swim in all that? Let's give it up for Sadiya Bashir.
We don't play with guns, shouts an African mother as her black son reaches for a toy water gun at a convenience store. He is no older than 3 years old. The clerk promises her it's harmful. She says, "My son will never play with guns." This is a promise she is making to herself. When a black mother warns against a gun, she means, if you want to use water to wash off blood, do it the right way in the sink. Or, I've watched the news, and I won't ever allow the news to watch me. Go ahead. We Americans wonder what wars people from other countries fled to make it here. But last week, the mall I work at got shot up twice, and I never flinched for my passport. The metro station got shot up, and my baby was there asleep as we ran. I think about the mother at the convenience store. I think about how police raided a baby girl's home, and sleep was the last thing she knew. The bodies decay, but the bullets still stay. Does that make the soil as angry as I am? The people want gun control, but my father watched police drop off guns in the hood, then defended the black boys who used them against the testimony of those same police officers. Does that make the country as angry as I am? What is gun control to police when they kill with cameras on their chests? When a white man shoots a gun, it's more muscle memory than mental illness. I live in a frame some white man wants to kill. So everyone I birth does too. So everyone I love does too. And because I am a mother, bullets and screams and sirens have made me an almost heavenly quiet. I am resting my tongue and warming my body for the day I have to explain to my daughter why we don't play with guns.
That's what I'm saying! That's what she's about!
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Sadiya Bashir. There's already an introduction, so I don't have to introduce myself more. I will say I'm a mother, as the poem said. My daughter's name is Shifa. It means healing. That was very intentional when my husband and I came together to figure out a name for her. It just fit, especially in the world that we live in today. It was kind of like, what does the world need the most right now? And it was just like Shifa, healing. This poem is called Muslim Fingerprints on Thomas Jefferson's Quran. Fun fact, Thomas Jefferson owned the Quran. Will you swear an oath? Use your right hand. When you sign into office, use your right hand. When you hold the Quran, use your right hand. Before I had a country or a flag, I had a hand. You know hands make flags, and hands make countries, and hands separate a mother's from their child, and order the work that separates bone from muscle. You know you can't make a religion with your hands. No matter how hard they try to grip gospel into grimace, sell slavery as salvation. It ain't ever surprised me how the devil can see God when we can't. I have my great-grandmother's hands, who has her grandmother's hands, who bound our family's history in Bibles their slave masters gave them, so the pages could feel the mercy of angels again. Women raped by masters to give birth to children with hands who do not look like theirs, who learn to write by tracing the trauma on their fathers' backs. We wrote the Lord's Prayer in Arabic as the first rebellion. We found East on every plantation as the second. We know calling these devils by their first name will not make us forget our lasts. You know Nat Turner was a preacher, an imam, his gun, and amen. When they killed him, they ate his body like communion, like breaking back instead of breaking bread. And we've died these deaths again and again. That's why Musa's story is the most told in the Quran. And God gonna repeat it like I said what I said. And Thomas Jefferson gonna read it, and it's gonna go over his head. Our favorite thing about the fire is the smoke. How it raises to God like hands in praise dance, like hands sing Allahu Akbar in prayer. So we burn the plantation down, like Tariq said, and that's why we don't trust the devil. He was made of a fire with no smoke, all the disaster without any of the warning. And we the children ask, how do you get rid of a Quran? You burn it for a moment, give it a holy light. How do you get rid of a slave master? You burn it in darkness for all eternity. I often write about like things that, it's gonna sound cliche, but things that inspire me. But I write droves in things about things that inspire me. So it's not just like if something inspired me, I write one solitary poem about it. It's kind of like poem after poem after poem after poem after poem. And after my daughter was born, I was just writing and writing and writing and writing, and I literally just have not stopped since. And I noticed that everything that I write about has a sense of home, has a sense of belonging, has a sense of coming back to something that feels comforting. And I wrote this poem like a week before she was born. I want to go back to the libraries of Timbuktu. Somewhere, the Dewey Decimal System dissolves itself into a dialect my great-great-great-grandmother understands. A library where quiet doesn't exist because we speak with our souls. My prayer, to step inside their walls and feel home. To no longer feel like an erasure poem, an anthology where most of my contributing authors' names are written in invisible ink. I want to read about astronomy in the 11th century, how we house God under stars with names he gave us, how we call a mansion of stars a council, how we seek counsel in the starlight of ourselves. These libraries that hold records of prayers, a building that can testify for us on Judgment Day, where the walls say Ameen after every prayer. The Quran, written on tree bark, evidence that God gives with all hands, and we learn to accept with full heart. I want to read the poetry of the 12th century, Let the storytellers inspire me, because somewhere in those words, I'm hoping is my ancestry, alliteration, my ally, metaphor, my mother, simile, a soliloquy singing to the soul of me. I am somewhere's child. I am looking for the map my foremothers traced on papyrus to guide me home, praying I can read it. I want to go back, but time makes centuries singular and makes me the successor of anything my family once knew. So I stand here, reimagining Timbuktu inside myself, making my ribcage a shelf, protecting my heart like it's scripture dipped in gold, straightening my spine so I no longer have a paper back. I will speak an elegant word. My last name is Bashir. It means the giver of good news. My grandfather wrote it in ink and sent it as a love letter to my family. So I let calligraphy slip from my tongue. My prayers answered, for God wrote these scrolls I have been looking for in my DNA. I am the griot I asked for. My penmanship, longhand, stretching back to shake the ancestor's hand. This body, the library that says I have been here and will always continue to be, standing amongst everything that's ever tried to dismantle me. So centuries from now, my daughters' will sing their names like ceremony, like questions they never had to ask in the first place. They will not have to reimagine a past when they have my words to point them to the future. So today, I stand here, both my ancestors' collection of work and my daughter's favorite library. Bridging the gap, I now know to call this body home. This last poem, also inspired by my child. Everything's inspired by my child at this point. God bless you. I need that. I need lots of pens. I don't know how many people grew up like this, but I was always the person who grew up with like parents, and I would be like, "What's this?" And they'd be like, "Look it up." And I mean, like, nowadays we have Google, so it's a lot easier to look it up. But like back then, it took a while, and then you would forget about it. And then my dad would be like the type of person to remind you, "Well, did you look it up?" So then I'm like in the dictionary, like, is that what this word means? So I hated that growing up. I hated searching for my own answers. But of course, that's a part of life. But I often thought about how parents can kind of simplify their children's lives by just giving them the answers of certain things sometimes, like just a little bit, like just one answer. Like, I've got this math test, just help me out real quick, give me like 5 answers, I can do the rest, right? And so I wrote this poem for my daughter. People say to let babies cry, it'll make their lungs stronger. I have never been okay with teaching you to build your body on the foundation of your own misery. Some days, all we have is our breath. So when you cried, I cradled you until your worries scarpered. 'Cause I knew you'd need the air later, like to run as the wind gathers your hair like recalling a memory, or to dance with rhythm your grandmother's grandmother gave you. All the moments that take your breath away will begin you, like birth. All the people who try to take your breath away will end you, like a broken sentence. It's hard to speak when no one will listen, even harder when you don't believe your words. If you ever become your own enemy, inhale. Remind yourself what the world tastes like. Let her know you have enough to deal with. When the world becomes too much, exhale. Let it know that you have a flavor too. Every day, you will become the keeper of saving your own life. For true time isn't measured by seconds, but by breath. So trust no one who speaks only to hear the sound of their voice. For when you speak, make sure climates will change, waters will sing, something will find its way back home. When you fail your body, remember, one day it'll give testimony. Ask for its forgiveness. It will always accept. If you feel like you can no longer breathe, write or come home. Here in my arms is all the air I have saved for you. All yours, because you cannot breathe as I do. It'll cause you to run at my pace. Then where will you go when my footsteps disappear? And I leave this behind, a memory of my words, here to say, please remember, sometimes all we have is our breath until we don't. Thank you.